Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Okay. Great to be with you this afternoon. We're going to be talking about land restoration. Who cares about land restoration? Yes. Okay. The reason why we're going to be talking about land restoration is about the fact that nearly all of us humans live on land. I was told I cannot say 100% because some people live in the water. Most of us live on land. 90% of what we eat comes from land. 90. Yeah? 50% of our GDP globally comes from activities based on land, so it matters. And yet, 1/3 of land at the global scale is threatened by desertification. 1/3. Most of it is degraded, and already 3 billion people are suffering from land degradation. So if we care about land for our food, our feed, our fibers, how we get our clothing and our fuels, we need to restore land. So that's what we're going to be talking about. Okay? And for this, I have brilliant people who are going to come with me. 2 series of conversation, a lot of people to speak in a short amount of time. We'll do our best, but that's what's going to happen now. And while they come on stage, we're going to play a little video to give you some context. Yeah? Yeah? Okay, thank you. Come on stage, please.
Our land, the foundation of life itself, the source of fresh water, crops, and raw materials, the lifeline of forests, rangelands, wetlands, and other vital habitats. Yet beneath our feet, a crisis unfolds. Land degradation is affecting every corner of the planet, causing biodiversity loss, reduced water quality, food insecurity, and forced migration. 40% of the world's land is already degraded, impacting 3.2 billion people. That's nearly half of humanity. Deforestation, overgrazing, unsustainable agriculture, industrial practices. We are pushing our land to the brink, and it is our future that hangs in the balance. We need to act now to reverse it. The world needs to restore 1.5 billion hectares of degraded land by 2030. Around the world, a growing movement is already starting. From Africa's Great Green Wall, working to restore 100 million hectares of land south of the Sahara, to the Middle East Green Initiative, planting 50 billion trees across Asia and Africa, and the Bond Challenge, aiming for 350 million hectares restored by 2030. Global initiatives are underway, but greater action is needed. Countries must establish restoration targets, and the private sector needs to increase its participation, recognizing that half of global GDP depends on natural capital. At UNCCD COP16, Saudi Arabia played a pivotal role in bringing global attention to land degradation, emphasizing its impact across all regions. The kingdom also highlighted the interlinkages between soil health, water and food security, and climate resilience, framing land degradation as a universal concern beyond dry climates. The Riyadh Action Agenda introduced key initiatives to strengthen global action, including the Sustainable Land Fund, to scale private sector investment in land restoration. For the first time, the role of business was brought to the forefront, with a dedicated forum uniting governments, companies, and civil society to drive sustainable land, soil, and water management. These outcomes were reinforced in the Riyadh Political Declaration, where countries committed to rehabilitate up to 1.5 billion hectares of degraded land by 2030. Lasting change requires sustained investment. We have the solutions to achieve land degradation neutrality. It's now time to use them for our land, for our future, for every life that hangs in the balance.
Okay. So these are big numbers. We are hearing restoring 1.5 billion hectares, right? That's not a small task and small feat. Thanks for joining us. Dr. Osama, you are the Deputy Minister for the Environment of Saudi Arabia. So when we talk about arid land, this is what you know. Desertification and desert, this is also what your country has to face and the challenge that they have to face when it comes to restoration. In 2021, you launched the Saudi Arabia Green Initiative that then got transformed into the Middle East Green Initiative. Can you tell us what this is about? How do you turn deserts into regenerated land? And give us a concrete example about what that looks like.
Thank you. Yes, I think first of all, we have to realize the severity of the challenge.
Yep.
Yes, we have to restore 1.5 billion hectares, but if we don't do that, we will have around 6 billion hectares of degraded land in 2050.
Yep.
And this is more than double the land we have degraded in the last 500 years. So we are degraded land at an alarming rate of about 100 million hectares per year. And this degradation comes from deforestation, illegal logging, overgrazing, improper agriculture practices, mining, the building materials, improper road design, salination of soil. So we are degrading lands in various ways at a very high rate. So land degradation is not only in arid areas like Saudi Arabia. It's global. And we have to act globally. In Saudi Arabia, of course, we are planning to restore 40 million hectares. And of course, it is much harder in Saudi Arabia because it is very arid.
Yes.
So we really put some principles. First of all, it has to be local species, local plant species, because it is adapted to local harsh environment. It has to be with renewable water resources. It has to be sustainable. And we have to also maintain ecological balance. And it shouldn't be a government only work. It should be a community, all communities. So by today now, we have planted about 140 million hectares. It's not only plantation, 140 million trees, 140 million trees. We are involving the private sector. About 50% of this is supported by private sector. We are involving NGOs. And we also focusing on controlling degrading practices. So we stopped illegal logging. We are trying to organize grazing, so we stop overgrazing. Now we are putting environmental standards for mining, trying to cut pollution and all others. So you cannot restore land and continue to degrade it by bad practices. So you have to restore it sustainably and collectively, but also you have to look at what are the industries and practices that degrade land and address that. Otherwise, the objective will not be achieved.
So we'll come back to that, the fact that we need to involve all the stakeholders and it cannot be a government action alone. But still, in your capacity as a representative for the government, you also held COP16 last year, and you still have the presidency of COP16. So it's the Conference on the Party on Desertification. What were the main achievements of that COP to do exactly just that, beyond just being, talk and paper at an international level? What were the concrete advances?
I think the first one is raising global awareness about land.
Yes.
So we really invested a lot into engaging conversation of many stakeholders before the COP. Actually, we worked with the United Nations and many other countries to issue a resolution on land degradation in UNIA 6 in Kenya in March 2024. And also we looked for involving innovation and private sector and the civil society. So we had decisions on the indigenous people. For the first time, we have now a caucus for indigenous people. We have decisions on agriculture. The first time, we have resolutions on rangelands. Rangelands is 75% of the land degradation happens in rangelands. We have actually covered a big milestone in reaching a decision on drought. And we announced the Riyadh Initiative, Global Initiative on Drought Resilience, because drought impacts about 1/3 of humanity. and we have launched this major initiative. We launched Business for Land,
Okay.
and we launched Riyadh Action Agenda. By the end of the COP, we had about 40 entities announce initiative because we already have targets in COP 15, COP 14, COP 13. But what we lack is the business community engagement. We lacked projects and initiatives on the ground.
Yes.
And this is what we tried to do in Riyadh by having more involvement, more initiatives on the ground. And I'm glad to announce that by end of December, we had like 40 initiatives, and my colleagues telling me now the number has increased.
Okay, because it's true that people tend to focus on climate, on biodiversity, but land and desertification is often the poor parent of
Exactly.
this trinity of environmental treaties that were adopted in '92. So thanks for that. Minister Saldan, welcome. You are the Minister for the Environment and Climate Change of Mongolia.
Yes.
Mongolia also face land degradation of a different nature.
Yes.
Obviously, it's not the same context. Can you tell us what are the key initiatives you are taking at the country level to really restore land and stop degradation from your perspective?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Mongolia is located in Central Asia. Territory is 1.5 million square kilometer.
Yeah.
Means 1 square kilometer per 2 person. We have very big territory, but our land is we have dry land.
Yeah.
And more than 76% of our whole territory now under desertification.
Yeah.
Yes, it's the big.
And it's mostly land for pasture that
Yes,
you have in
pasture.
Mongolia, right?
Yes, and
Yeah.
land degradation. And now more than around 300,000 herders in Mongolia care for 57 million livestock.
Yeah, that's it.
Yes, it's quite the big problem. And 3.4 million Mongolian depends on the food and the income and daily needs depends on the these herders'
Yes.
activities. Yes, and we face also when the land degrades, it impacts more than just the environment. Also, it threatens food security.
That's right.
Reduces access to water and weakens on livelihoods and
Yeah.
everything.
And you told me when we were preparing that in terms of stopping that degradation and
Yes.
restoring, women in particular
Yeah.
were playing a key role. And this is where you also put some investment nationally,
Yes,
correct?
and one of our largest efforts is the initiation of initiative 1 billion trees campaign.
Yeah.
Yeah, it focuses on reforestation, restoring degraded land.
Yeah.
And we planted 80 million plants for 10,000 hectares.
Yeah.
Yeah, it also helped carbon sequestration,
Okay.
etc. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Minister. So we're talking a lot about trees, Florent, and that's also where you come in, yet for another region and part of the world. You are the CEO of Global Forest Regeneration, so that's what you do. You focus on degraded lands that have a forest cover, or that had a forest cover, from the Andes all the way to Patagonia in Latin America. So can you tell us, in that context, how you prevent that degradation and work on restoring? What is it that you do? Is it just about planting trees?
Thank you so much. Can you hear me? Yes.
Yes.
Great. Get it out of the way. I'm French. I live in Peru. I live in the Andes. I work in the Andes. We have
Bring it closer to your mouth, Florent.
we have launched an initiative called Acción Andina 6 years ago that is about restoring high Andean ecosystem. So what's happening in the Andes is the glaciers are melting. Water security is becoming a huge issue. The glaciers, I'm very sorry to say, will be gone. By 2050, almost 70%. And so the only natural substitute to the water holding capacity of those glaciers will be forest and ecosystems in the highland holding water in the altitudes. Now, communities realize that at first, right? Lack of water, missed crops, delayed rains, and they're coming together to actually bring them back. Planting trees and reforestation actually makes a whole lot of sense in the Andes. There is a lot of natural regeneration, but to accelerate this natural process that in high altitudes, we're talking 3,500 to 5,500 meters in altitude, that takes a long time.
Yeah.
The core of what we do, which is my main message, is we're working really at the grassroots level. And how? We are reviving ancestral principles of the communities, of the deep culture of the Andean people, to be able to unite the people and mobilize en masse the people of the high Andes. We started 6 years ago with a few dozen people. We have over 40,000 people already actively involved, have planted 12 million trees so far, but this is just the beginning.
Yeah.
If we're really looking at long-term restoration, this is a multi-generational effort. It doesn't go fast. We talk about solutions. These solutions have to be in the long term, multiple generation. We think of Acción Andina as a 100-year program, just putting that into perspective.
And earlier, Mr. Deputy Minister spoke about the importance of engaging the private sector, right? So you also make that pitch. Can you give us the business case for that engagement in a particular context? And how do you involve local community in that? Because that's a complexity, right? We need to bring the private sector, but at the same time, we need to respect indigenous practices and engage them. How do you make that pitch?
So first of all, I don't think I need to do a business case. The reason is the companies are actually coming to us. Why? They're realizing that water security will put a halt to their economic activities.
Yeah.
The companies are realizing that. They are the ones contacting us saying, nobody is actually doing anything at scale. We need to actually take that front. And the only solutions that I find is local and indigenous communities doing restoration projects. So this is actually quite a beautiful thing. And not only direct water-dependent industries such as agriculture or water utilities. We actually have banks and insurance companies coming to us at the moment saying, if the companies that I'm lending money to are running out of water, they'll be in trouble. That will affect my business case. Yeah. And so that brings about new types of partnerships. The hard work is really, as you mentioned, connecting the both, connecting the insurance and financial markets to local community initiative. And that middle piece is a very technical one, but is a crucial one. And allow me to say one more thing. Quite often, so there's two extremes with a whole lot of respect. Either you have huge initiatives promoted by global treaties and government, but seldom, it is very hard to get them on the ground in realities.
Right.
Or you have amazing small initiatives in every community, but it's very hard to get them scaled up in an entire region. So we have to work together to figure out, including the businesses, including the ministries of each and every country, to actually make that work. And that's the challenge we're facing.
Dr. Osama, I see you nodding on that. And as you said, as part of COP16, the engagement of the private sector is that was one of your strong push for the first time, as you mentioned. They came to the COP. We see them all over on climate. We don't see them too much on what's the main challenge that you're facing in terms of that engagement?
I think realizing the impact, what has been mentioned, the business community came when they realized their business at risk. So they came and they realized this engagement is to secure their business. Now the global business doesn't see the risk of not engaging. Still we are borrowing from land and we are not realizing that this is not sustainable. As soon as, of course, many times it's a local condition. The local business realizing that we need to preserve the land, otherwise we will lose the business opportunity. But we don't have this global outlook. For example, the carbon credit. This is as a financial model, it has also pushed the action on climate very much because we have a price on carbon and we have a trading mechanism and the carbon credits. And So we need something similar.
Now we have
for
the nature
land.
credit, and you would advocate
Exactly.
to have some kind of a land restoration
Land,
credit?
I think, I mean, we need to integrate it, yeah.
D'accord.
So I think we need to have the economic model. We need to have the financial institutions. For example, in the nature-based solutions now, out of $540 billion that was required, only 165 was availed, and mostly coming from governments. The business contribution is around 5%. So in nature-based, I think the business now is contributing big time in the electric vehicle, into the renewable energy, but they are not really participating in the nature-based solutions.
Right, yep.
Because there is no, the business models are not there.
Are not there. Minister Saldan, you will take over the presidency. Mongolia will take over the presidency of this convention of the party, the big gathering of governments on desertification and to address land degradation next year.
Yeah.
How will you keep the momentum on that important topic, despite the, let's say, turbulent geopolitical context where the priorities are different? What is your main vision for COP17 in Mongolia next year?
Next year, in August, we are hosting COP17. And it is not just organize big event or big conference.
Yeah.
We'd like to lead in a movement to combat desertification. And we, together we will, UNCCD, we will champion the rangeland and rangeland flagship initiative.
Yeah.
Yes, and this will be global coalition on rangelands and pastoralists. Yeah, and this will be together voices from all over the country to coordinate, to change opinions, to change experience, invest in sustainability in management. And our key priorities is the first, achieving land degradation neutrality. The second is strengthening drought resilience.
Drought resilience.
Yeah, drought resilience and the early warning system. And the third, promoting sustainable rangeland and dryland management. Also, bridging traditional and scientific knowledge. Because the Mongolian people, for many years, for many decades, we lived in nomadic lifestyle,
Yes, yeah.
nomadic economy. That's why we'd like to mix with scientific knowledge and to improve land
Regeneration.
land
Can you give us
degradation.
a concrete example from Mongolia about what that looks like? You say you have mostly nomadic pastoralists taking care of herds. Can you give us an illustration of what you did in Mongolia to bridge these indigenous practices with the science? Tell me what it looks like in Mongolia.
Yeah, but this is the big problem
Yeah.
because it is very difficult to change people's mind because I mentioned before that only 300,000 herders growing 75 million cattle.
Yeah.
Means we are going just after quantity.
Yes.
We need to think on the quality. Yes, we'd like to we need to transfer on using knowledge, new technology. Yeah, but this we can change it, but it's difficult to change the mind. That's why we'd like to organize this coalition
Yes.
on rangeland and together decide all these problems.
Yeah, I think we all
Yeah.
need to change our mindset
Yes.
on that topic. I
Yes.
don't think it's only locally, but in this tricky context, Florent, what makes you hopeful? Again, the numbers are mind-blowing, right? If we need to restore 1.5 billion hectares, what makes you the most excited and the most hopeful in terms of achieving that big goal?
We will not achieve those numbers if we don't fundamentally understand that land restoration happens at the community level. If
Yeah.
the people are not involved, at the people really living on the land for generations past and in the future are not driving that restoration, it will simply not happen. And so for the global treaties, and almost my invitation and my wish to the COP processes, how do we break this down?
You can make your pitch. They're here.
How can we-
The current presidency, the next presidency, what would be your hope and your ask to
I
governments?
would like to see in Mongolia your herders community,
Bring
the
it
nomads, coming, sharing their ancestral culture, sharing how they have managed the lands sustainably for thousands of years.
Yep.
And what can we learn from this? Quite often we think of solutions, and I'm fully in line with that. But the solutions are often not the 2-year business solution immediate. These solutions have to be long-term, multiple generations, and really be fundamentally based on the local culture, right? Every solution that we try to bring in from the outside will never work. And
D'accord.
so my invitation to the global treaties, which we love attending and are supporting that, is really to think simply, listen to the local people everywhere in the world, and it's about dignity, it's about respect, it's about justice, and if we can embed this at the center, at the core of these processes, while recognizing the role of governments, the role of business into supporting that, I think we will go a long way.
Dr. Osama, so that's his speech to you. This is also, you already engaged local communities and actors at the COP16. From your perspective, as you are going to be ready to hand over the presidency to Mongolia, what are you the proudest of in terms of the achievement that you would have made and you will make through your presidency to advance that huge agenda?
I think the participation.
Right.
The participation has been huge.
It was like,
We have like 100,000 attendance, 600 sessions, and we have the first time we have financial announcement by financial institutions
That's right.
of major investments. So this is really that the various stakeholders are hearing the message
Yeah.
and starting to come. And I think I'm very proud about the decision on indigenous people.
yeah.
It's the first time now we have the indigenous people caucus as a pillar of the negotiation, and I'm very proud of that. We also have the women and youth caucus, and we have the first time a decision on agricultural land, and I think
Which is a huge part of the problem.
it is huge, and I think one thing very beautiful, and we hear the Andrea, the undersecretary of the agreement, she said always in the negotiation we start with ambitious text, and with negotiation we bring down the ambition to satisfy
yeah,
this.
right.
Always we start high and then we end up agreeing
right.
on the law. For the agriculture and the rangeland, we started low and we end up high because
Okay.
there is this atmosphere in the negotiation rooms that land is very important.
It is.
And the stakeholders came and we end up with decisions on agriculture, on rangelands. And again, and I think COP17 is very important to keep the momentum.
That's right.
And we carry the engagement. We have the Riyadh Action Agenda, the Business for Land, which is now for the first time we have the Business for Land initiative. We have, I think, thousands of businesses have a climate agenda.
Yeah.
And now we'd like to have land and biodiversity
Yeah.
with the climate as well. So I think we are very proud. We made a huge step, but we need to continue with
We need to
COP17.
continue. And so, Minister Saldan, you have the last short word. All eyes are on you for that next stage of bringing this international negotiation. What would make you the proudest during your presidency in terms of achievements?
Because Mongolian people has a huge knowledge.
They do have, yeah.
Yes, the many decades we use the nomadic lifestyle, and we can we know very well how to protect your land. But without the international support, without the
Coalitions of the willing, as you
coalition,
said, yeah.
now it's impossible because already 76% is now under desertification. And that's why it is not the problem of only Mongolia, it's the problem of the region and a problem of the
World, for all of us.
Yes, that's why we'd like to combine all the efforts.
Yes.
Yeah, and to ask all countries to
join. So it's a big
join
call to action.
Our
Yeah.
coalition.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Minister. Thank you, Minister. And thank you, Florent, the non-minister, but minister-to-be, maybe, for sharing this experience and your leadership with us. Join me in applauding them while I bring the next round of speakers in. Thank you very much.